Imagine an aircraft so advanced that many of its technologies look decades ahead of their time. It could fly higher than most enemy fighters, travel farther than any bomber before it, and carry enough bombs to devastate entire cities. Yet this incredible machine nearly failed before it ever reached combat. Crashes, engine fires, and massive development costs made some wonder if it would become one of America's greatest military disasters. Instead, it became one of the most influential aircraft ever built. The story of the B-29 Superfortress is not just about a bomber. It's about engineering, determination, and one aircraft that helped reshape modern warfare forever. By 1940, the world had entered a new era of conflict. Germany dominated much of Europe, while Japan continued expanding across the Pacific. American planners realized that future wars would demand bombers capable of striking targets thousands of miles away. Existing aircraft, such as the B-17 Flying Fortress and the B-24 Liberator, performed well in Europe, but they lacked the range needed for the vast Pacific Ocean. American planners needed an aircraft that could reach Japan itself, deliver a heavy payload, and return safely. The answer came from Boeing's most ambitious project yet. Development officially began in 1940 under an urgent Army Air Forces requirement for a long-range strategic bomber unlike anything that had flown before. Engineers packed the aircraft with revolutionary technology. It featured pressurized crew compartments that allowed airmen to fly comfortably above 50,000 feet, remote-controlled defensive gun turrets operated by analog computers, and powerful Wright R-3350 duplex Cyclone radial engines. The project became the most expensive weapons program of the entire war, even exceeding the cost of the Manhattan Project during parts of its development. But despite its promise, serious technical problems threatened everything before the bomber even entered combat. Early testing proved that innovation came at a price. The powerful engines frequently overheated because of their tight-fitting cowlings and demanding operating conditions. Several prototypes suffered catastrophic fires, and tragic accidents claimed the lives of experienced test crews. Every setback delayed production while engineers searched for solutions. However, American industry refused to give up. Thousands of improvements gradually transformed the aircraft into a reliable combat machine. When the B-29 finally entered service in 1944, it immediately stood apart from every bomber in the sky. Its wings stretched over 141 feet, giving it the lift needed to carry extraordinary loads over enormous distances. 4 massive engines produced roughly 2,200 horsepower each, allowing the aircraft to reach speeds of about 357 miles per hour. It could carry up to 20,000 pounds of bombs on many missions and fly more than 3,000 miles without refueling. No operational bomber combined this level of speed, altitude, payload, and range. But that wasn't even its greatest advantage. Inside the aircraft, technology reduced the workload on its crew in remarkable ways. Instead of each gunner sitting directly behind a machine gun, several remotely operated turrets could be controlled from protected stations using advanced sighting systems. An analog fire control computer automatically calculated target speed, distance, and deflection, allowing multiple turrets to engage enemy fighters with impressive accuracy. For the 1940s, this was astonishingly sophisticated. Flying at extreme altitudes also created new possibilities. The pressurized compartments protected crews from freezing temperatures and thin air, reducing fatigue during missions that often lasted well over a dozen hours. Connecting tunnels allowed crew members to crawl between the front and rear sections while remaining inside the pressurized fuselage. These comforts may sound ordinary today, but during World War II, they represented a major leap forward in aircraft design. Yet the biggest surprise came after the bomber reached combat. The first missions launched from bases in China during Operation Matterhorn. Although they proved the B-29 could strike Japan, every gallon of fuel, every bomb, and every spare part had to be flown over the Himalayas, known as the hump. The logistics were exhausting and inefficient. American commanders soon realized that capturing islands closer to Japan would completely change the campaign. Everything shifted after U.S. forces secured the Mariana Islands in 1944. Massive new airfields on Saipan, Tinian, and Guam placed Japan within regular striking distance. From these bases, hundreds of B-29s began flying strategic bombing missions deep into the Japanese home islands. However, there was one major problem. High-altitude bombing over Japan often encountered powerful jet stream winds that scattered bomb patterns far from their intended targets. Accuracy suffered, and many missions failed to achieve the desired results. General Curtis LeMay made a controversial decision that shocked many experienced air crews. Instead of bombing from extreme altitude during daylight, B-29s would attack at lower altitudes during nighttime using incendiary bombs. What happened next shocked everyone. On the night of March 9th and 10th, 1945, hundreds of B-29s carried out Operation Meeting House against Tokyo. The resulting firestorm became one of the most destructive air raids in history, devastating vast sections of the city. Similar attacks followed against other industrial centers, severely damaging Japan's ability to continue the war. While historians continue to examine the enormous human cost of these raids, there is little doubt they had a profound impact on Japan's wartime infrastructure and economy. Even more surprising, the B-29 also became the aircraft chosen for history's first and only wartime use of nuclear weapons. Modified silver-plate B-29s removed unnecessary armor and equipment to carry unusually large bombs. On August 6, 1945, the Enola Gay dropped the atomic bomb over Hiroshima. 3 days later, Boxcar delivered a second atomic bomb over Nagasaki. These missions, combined with the Soviet Union's entry into the war against Japan, contributed to Japan's decision to surrender, bringing World War II to an end. Despite its achievements, the B-29 remained a difficult aircraft to master. Crews respected its power, but never underestimated its complexity. Long missions over open ocean demanded exceptional navigation, fuel management, and teamwork. Mechanical failures could still occur, and emergency landings were never simple in such a large aircraft. Yet thousands of airmen trusted the Superfortress with their lives because when everything worked together, few aircraft could match its capabilities. By the end of the war, nearly 4,000 B-29s had been built. They destroyed factories, transportation networks, and military facilities while demonstrating what strategic air power could accomplish across enormous distances. More importantly, they introduced technologies that became standard on future military and civilian aircraft. Pressurized cabins, advanced fire control systems, and long-range bomber concepts all influenced post-war aviation. Its legacy stretched far beyond World War II. Improved versions served during the Korean War, while its design directly influenced later strategic bombers built during the Cold War. Historians remember the B-29 not simply because it carried larger bomb loads than earlier aircraft, but because it changed how nations thought about global air power. It proved that distance was no longer a reliable defense and that technological superiority could reshape entire military strategies. The B-29 Superfortress wasn't perfect. It faced dangerous technical problems, demanded extraordinary effort from its crews, and participated in some of the most controversial missions in military history. But it also pushed aviation technology further than almost any aircraft of its era, and permanently changed the nature of warfare. More than 80 years later, it remains one of the most significant bombers ever built. Would you have trusted your life aboard the B-29 Superfortress on one of those long missions across the Pacific? Let us know in the comments.
And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more incredible World War II history. Which legendary aircraft should we cover next?